Welcome. I'm just going to put my speaker timer on there myself. Vinne Quinn is my name, and I'm going to run through a little bit of where the last 20 years has gone, and ups and downs and adventures and all the rest. Going to go reasonably chronological, mostly interspersed with a few learnings and some dodgy haircuts. So started out of school. It was 4 years in DIT, studying marketing, grand. Working part-time doing whiskey promotions, giving away whiskey, best job in the world, absolutely wonderful. Then we set up a company, Nixers.com, that became Jobs.ie. Worked really hard, ups and downs, loads of fun. Again, went on then, sold out, went traveling for a few years, and then, actually got to the point where I'd had enough of that, and came back to work on Difficult's second album. So, to give you the short story of Nixers.com, this website is so old. As you can imagine, back in 2001, it had images and things like that. Some of you will remember it. Myself and my business partner had met when we were both in college giving away this whiskey. We couldn't understand why this is the greatest job in Dublin. You're giving away whiskey, having a laugh, and they were still looking for people through us to go and fill these jobs. So we thought, okay, a recruitment website for young people for part-time jobs seems like a good idea. So at 20 or 21, whatever we were, you just think, brilliant, this is a good idea. We're going to be brilliant at it. It's going to be a huge success. And why wouldn't it be? And it's important to think like that for a while. So we got, the usual, as you do, get a car loan, don't buy a car, stick it in. We raised a bit of private finance from people who, fair play to them, had faith in us. And we'd no content on the site to start with, so we went to the Evening Herald, took all the jobs off the Herald, put them on our website, and pressed play. And immediately the phone started ringing. We're like, great, this is working. And the first 9 calls are people going, what the hell are you doing putting my job on the internet where all the perverts are? Because again, it's the year 2001 thereabouts. Not everyone's too excited about their job being on the internet where the weirdos can see it, not on the back page of the Evening Herald where everyone else can see it. So the first 9 calls are like that. The 10th call was a guy who just got a load of calls from a logistics company, and all of a sudden he was hiring computer literate truck drivers through us because they found the job on Nixers rather than in the paper, and loved it, rang us up, became an investor, and it was great. So we ploughed on thinking we were brilliant. We hired a few people, we built a sales team. It all sounds like it was going great. We didn't learn the rule 1, sell more than you spend every month. We were frugal with our money, but we were building a sales team and we were focused on engineering and we were doing all these things. And we got to the point 2 years later where we'd built this nice brand that people liked. We'd got a good, strong foothold in recruitment in retail, hospitality, promotions, a few of these nice industries that hired a lot of young people. And we were running out of money. We were practically dead in the water. And a couple of our investors pulled us aside when we sent out the monthly reports, and they said, shut it down. And they didn't mean it in a bad way. They were good guys. They were like, clap on the back. You've done well. It hasn't worked. You don't have enough working capital to get through the next, 6 weeks. It's like, well done. You learn from failure. It'll stand to you when you go and get a job in the bank. And there's 3 of us going, okay, what can we, how do we? These people know a lot more than us. They have a lot more experience than us, and this is what we should do according to them. So we did the best thing we could think of, which was to go to the Gravediggers. It's my local pub at home, and really quiet during the week, take a little bit of the snug, sit down with some hot whiskies and say, well, what do we think? What can we do? Are we going to accept this? Or is this our last drink and we go in tomorrow and sack everybody and wrap it all up and go to the bank with our CVs in our hands and the other 500,000 CVs in our database? And we decided no, so screw it. We know we're doing something good here. We know we're creating some value. We know this is working. We know there's a market for it. We're just doing it wrong. So let's just do it right instead. Again, page 1 of the business studies book. So we did that. We went back to our investors and said, thanks a million for your advice. We're not going to take it. We'll plow on. Thanks a million. And did the hard bit, which was going in and sacking the team that we built, which were, and again, we'd hired some friends who were great friends, but terrible hires. It was just bad, again, it was just, we pulled back on a few bad decisions. And the other thing we learned was that, companies like Google who used us and promotions companies and all to hire staff, they didn't mind Nixers.com because all they cared about was results. And we learned from talking to our customers and our potential customers and deals that fell through. We learned that the banks and all didn't want to write a check to Nixers.com. No one wanted to ask the boss. So we said, okay, grand, we'll call it jobs.ie, we build that, doesn't matter where the applicants come from. To cut it short, we built it into the #1 recruitment site for traffic in the country. Went really well, sold it 2.5 years later, and had gone through 5 years of really good learnings and really good work. And that brings us on to travel. And as anyone knows, like, the reasons to travel are to find yourself and to discover everything and to build up some nice photos for when you're in your 30s on Tinder. The main reason. So, one very short story about when you're traveling, you can be whoever you want to be. So I wasn't the guy who just sold his company. I was like normal backpacker like everyone else, and every so often I'd sneak off to a nice hotel and treat myself. This is a guy I met in Croatia. We traveled down through Sarajevo together, spent a week together. Seemed like a lovely guy. He told us his name was Paddy, knew about Ireland, he'd been here and all that. Great fella. Took him at face value like we all did. Looking online at news about a week later, murderer. Guy had murdered a girl he fancied in Florida and fled, and he's hanging around with us for the crack. Again, I don't know what the lesson is there. It's like, you can be whoever you want to be when you're traveling, but don't be a murderer. Incidentally, I figured I should go visit this guy next time I'm in New York because we were friends, it was like, whatever. And I asked someone legal advice and they went, don't go fucking near him. It's like, every time you try to get through the border again, there will be someone, asking you serious questions. Another thing that was nice about having time off was, again, dodgy haircut, doing some volunteer work. So this is doing some volunteer work with a group called Fighting Words, where we teach creative writing to kids. It's really enjoyable, really good crack. And as you can see, that guy on the right, riveted, delighted with it. But again, one of the important things here is where we think some of the decisions we have to make are hard. Will I start a business? Will I change my job? Will I do all these things? Like, last week I was doing a workshop in Oberstown Young Offenders Institute. Like, our decisions aren't hard. We get to make decisions. We get to decide where our life is going. We've all, had a decent upbringing, all the rest. These kids have nothing, and it just puts it all into a bit of perspective if, your my hard task of the day or whatever decision you have to make. So, enough of traveling and messing around. It was time to get my hair cut and get a real job. And this is myself and my business partner, Marco's, our first company, this is the photo on the right is after the first company, and here we are getting ready for the next one. Again, this is working with CCTV cameras. The idea came from Marco's apartment in Berlin, where he was lazing about, and building a time lapse, using a security camera. There was no good software to do it. It was really surprising, and we thought, grand, it'll move to the cloud like everything else. We'll be the guys who bring CCTV into the cloud. Everyone will buy it. Just the same optimism we had with Nixers. It was like, this is going to be brilliant. It's going to be easy. We'll start up a great business. And then we started working with cameras and realized cameras are hard. They all behave differently. Technically, they're very hard to work with, and everybody hates them. Like, everybody absolutely hates CCTV cameras. So we realized we had a whole new sort of set of challenges there, and they don't work very well with for many reasons in the cloud. So again, we kept at it. We were lucky. We had old investors and even old customers who kind of said, "Oh, you guys are doing something together again. Great. What are you doing? I'll be a customer. What are you doing? I'll be an investor." And that really stood to us. So we came up with this sort of software for cameras. It's basically adding any functionality to any brand of CCTV camera, which doesn't sound that exciting, but anyone who's ever had to use the software that came with your camera, this is great. This is like revolutionary stuff. And again, this is just the interface of how it works. And a bit like selling job ads, where you're selling a job ad, you're saying, do you want to buy a job ad on the internet? What we were selling by the time we copped on is we were selling, we'll fill that job. It'll cost you X, but we'll fill the job, and then we'd work out the metrics of how to do it. So what we're selling now, we're not selling cameras. We're selling like the results of what the cameras can do for you. So a lot of my customers at the moment are in construction and a couple of other areas. So when I go to the construction guy, I'm not saying, do you want to buy cameras for your building site? I'm saying, do you want to win an argument? Like, you will win your arguments if you use our software on the cameras on your building site. And I was like, It doesn't matter how, but I'll prove to you that you can prove whatever you want if you own the evidence. So that's, again, we're getting there, and we're not there. We thought it was going to be easy. We're 5 years into this project, and it's still really bloody hard, and we're still not making money, but we know that we're onto something, and we know that we've got a good market, we've got a good team. It might take a couple of years, whatever it is. We're going to build something really exciting, and that's why we do it, because it's pretty exciting to build a product, find customers, get them to pay for it, make sure they like it, try and keep them, all the rest. And in terms of, so I guess in terms of whatever lessons or whatever like advice and learnings I have, it's like that power of naivety of saying like, yeah, we will do it. And yeah, whatever, of course it'll be hard, but do it and give it a go. And you don't meet anyone who, rarely meet anyone who would have regretted starting the business. And that's only one piece of advice. The more important piece of advice is get a dog, right? Again, like having a business, no one ever regrets having a dog. So get a dog.